Now that you understand a little bit about the importance of rubrics and how to use them, I want to show you how instructors use rubrics to grade your work. Right now, I'm looking at a submitted assignment for test student, and I wanted to show you how I would grade this assignment. So let's take a look first at the actual work that the student turned in. It says, I want to get into the nursing program. I will do this by studying really hard. I should be in the nursing program in a year. I've always wanted to be a nurse because I think it would make me a lot of money, plus I get to help people out. So immediately my first impression is they didn't fulfill the expectations of the assignment because there's not a lot of information in the student's goal to help them make a goal that's smart. So the next thing I do is I take a look at the rubric. Over on the right-hand side, a rubric pops up, the same rubric that the students are given, that you are given, and it has the criteria and the ratings. And what I do is I click on the box that best meets what the student earned in their assignment. Okay, so the first one says, student's response clearly addressed the 5 components of SMART goal setting. When I take a look over here, I can see that they set a goal, but it isn't very specific. It isn't measurable because it doesn't say what steps that they need to take to achieve their goal. It isn't reasonable or attainable because it says I should be in the nursing program in a year. Based off the information that I know about my pretend students here, I know that they are going to need to take some developmental writing and some developmental math courses. Since a student placed in those courses, there is not a realistic way to be entering into the nursing program in 1 year. It will take the student 2 years at least in order to be accepted. So because they didn't meet all of the criteria, the student would receive no marks. As you can see, when I click on no marks, it automatically assigns a score of 0 in the points section. Let's take a look at the next one. Student was able to write clearly and effectively. Well, if we look back at our example, we can see that the goal is pretty hard to follow. I have a hard time figuring out if it's smart or not because everything is not clearly labeled. I can make a lot of assumptions, but when I'm grading assignments and instructors are grading assignments, if an instructor has to make an assumption, chances are we're going to make the wrong assumption. So you need to make sure and be very specific and clear with what you're trying to say. Also, I can see that there are lots of grammar errors. Some of the things that stand out immediately to me is the lowercase I. Anytime the letter I is supposed to be a word, it needs to be capitalized. So I can see 2 instances here where the I needs to be capitalized. There are many instructors on campus who will immediately give you a grade of 0 on your grammar if you lowercase the I, because it is improper English. Another thing that stands out is the word a lot is misspelled. A lot should be 2 words, not 1. In addition, the sentence, I have always wanted to be a nurse because I think it would make me a lot of money, plus I get to help people out, is a run-on sentence. It needs to be split up into at least 2 sentences in order to make sense and reworded. A lot of times instructors will say WC, which stands for word choice. That means that the words that are being used are too remedial or young sounding for a person that's in college. So for example, we could say something different. The student could say, I have always wanted to be a nurse because of the benefits that are associated with being a nurse. Some of these include getting to help people out or being able to provide for my own family with the financial stability that it provides. So if I go back to my rubric, I want to see what grade I would assign the student. First one says, student had logical flow from point to point and adhered to the conventions of standard written English. The second point says, student's flow from point to point was somewhat hard to follow and there were several small errors with the conventions of standard written English. Well, both of these first two ones don't really work for this student because this paragraph was actually kind of hard to read, and also there were several larger errors being made in the grammar. So let's read the third one and see if it fits. Students' flow from point to point was hard to follow, and there were many errors with the conventions of standard written English. That seems to apply. So I'm going to click on that box, which awards the student 0 points. Let's go to the last criteria. Student followed directions and fulfilled the expectations of the assignment. Now, if we think about what the expectations of the assignment are, it is really about creating a goal that's achievable and measurable that the student will be able to look at and focus on through the duration of this class in order to achieve their larger goal of college. When I look at this paragraph that the student wrote, they really didn't think too much about this assignment. You can tell by the shortness of the sentences, the incorrect grammar, and the lack of specific examples that the student didn't put very much time into creating a goal. So they did not meet the expectations of the assignment. So let's take a look then at the ratings. Student created a realistic SMART goal that was well supported with specific details. Well, the SMART goal was not realistic because the student mentioned that they would enter into the program in a year. And based off of their qualifications, I know that that's not possible for this student. Let's take a look at the second rating. Student created a realistic SMART goal that could be achieved but did not provide sufficient details. So this is a SMART goal that could be achieved if they had provided sufficient details and told me more about their story. If they said, I do think that I could earn it in a year because of this reason, and this reason, then I might not be so skeptical. Remember, if I have to assume things, I probably will not assume things correctly. So you need to be very specific in your answers. Let's take a look at the last one. Student created a SMART goal that was not realistic. Student did not support his or her assertions with sufficient details. Based off of the information that is provided in this assignment, I do not think that the goal was realistic, and I did not see sufficient details being explained. So I will click on this last rating, which awards the student 0 points. As you can see, the student, even though they turned in an assignment, would receive 0 out of 10 points for their work. Now, the student could have read the assignment more carefully and read the rubric more carefully before turning in their assignment. This could have created a situation where they could have earned 10 out of 10 points. Also, if the student was confused about the assignment, they could have contacted the instructor before the assignment was due to make sure that they were earning all the points possible. Once I have completed this rubric, I would click the Save button, which would enter in a grade of 0 out of 10 points. Also, this information down here would be directly sent to the student. All right, so now let's take a look at another student who submitted the same assignment. Immediately when I pull up test student number 2, I can see that they put a lot more work into this assignment. One of the things that stands out immediately is the organization. I know what their name is, and I also can tell that they did achieve the 5 components of SMART goal setting. It's easy to see because they listed it specifically. Specifics, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So when I look at the SMART Healthcare Studies rubric on the right-hand side, I can immediately give them full marks because they address the 5 components. And over here, it automatically changes their score to 4 out of 4. The next criteria says the student was able to write clearly and effectively. So let's take a look back at the assignment. It says, my goal is to be accepted into Big Bend Community College Nursing Program. Specifics, there are many people that are involved in this process that I will need to work with, even though the final responsibility for meeting this goal reside with me. These people include financial aid advisors, academic advisors, and student resource advisors. I have to apply for the nursing program at the beginning of spring quarter. In order to be accepted into the program, I have to complete a series of prerequisite courses. These courses include Biology 241 and Nursing Assistant Certification. Measurable. Here are the following steps that I will need to follow to be able to apply for the nursing program by spring quarter. I need to earn a minimum of 2.0 or better. Personal goal is 3.0 to have a better chance of being accepted. Complete Biology 241 in fall quarter. Complete Biology 242 in winter quarter. Take the TEAS and critical thinking tests in January. Submit my application for the nursing program on March 15th. Achievable. My goal should be achievable within this year because of my enrollment in the Running Start program while I was in high school. This has enabled me to take courses that count towards my admittance into the nursing program right away. Even though many students take 2 years to take the classes that they need to apply for the nursing program, I believe that I will be able to take classes and pass them with high scores in 1 year. I believe this because my only responsibility right now is being a student. Timely. Here is a class schedule of how I plan to complete my goal. In fall quarter, English 101, Math 146, Biology 241. In winter quarter, Nursing 100, Biology 242, Nutrition 101. Spring quarter, Communication Studies 220, Biology 260, and Psychology 200. Here's a study schedule of how I plan to meet my goal. Monday, in the library from 4 to 5 p.m. Tuesday, library 8 to 9 a.m. Wednesday, Student Success Center 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And Thursday, Nursing Lab from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. All right, you can tell immediately that the student put a lot of effort into this assignment. So when I look at the criteria, student was able to write clearly and effectively. Immediately I can tell that they did a pretty good job. It says right here, student had logical flow from point to point and adhered to the conventions of standard written English. The student absolutely met this expectation. So when I click on this, it awards the student 3 points out of 3 points and adds it to their total score down at the bottom. The next one says, student followed directions and fulfilled the expectations of the assignment. The student absolutely fulfilled the expectations of the assignment. They created a goal that's realistic and achievable and is something that they can obviously use in the future and are planning to use and have thought through. So this first one here said, student created a realistic SMART goal that was well supported with specific details. That is exactly what the student did. So I click on this box and it awards the students 3 out of 3 points for the total points of 10 out of 10. A student can find their grades by clicking on the Grades tab on the left-hand side and then locating the assignment that they submitted. On the top here, it says Smart Healthcare Studies Goals, score 10 out of 10. So the student received 10 points out of 10 points possible. And the little box right here, if you go put your mouse over it, it says see rubric results. If you click on that, it will tell you what rubric grading you received based off of the assignment. If you have any more questions about how rubrics are used to grade your assignments and how to view the results of your rubrics, please do not hesitate to ask.